So then what you ought to ask yourselves as public policy, people who are interested in public policy, are then what are the practical things that have led to this massive disparity in poverty? And let's count the ways. Most recent data from the Tax Foundation. Taxes as a percentage of personal income based on state and local taxes. 2010 data is the most recent data available. Taxes are 42% higher as a share of the economy in California than in Texas. That's a pretty significant difference in taxation rates. The size of government at the state and local level as a share of the economy is about 33% larger in California than in Texas. Now, with all those extra people, those extra bureaucrats and the extra costs, they don't just take your money. What do they do with their time when they're sitting around the halls of government in California? They regulate. It got so bad that in 2006, my second year in the legislature, a Democrat, a moderate Democrat by California standards, came up with a bill to study the costs of regulatory compliance on California small businesses. And this study was completed in 2008. Schwarzenegger, who by that time had turned a deeper shade of green, was so embarrassed by the study he didn't want to release it. The legislature actually had to pressure the administration to release the study. And they finally got the study out in 2009, September, when the unemployment rate in California hit a 70-year high. Think back what was going on in the country 70 years ago, right? So they finally got this thing released, and it showed that the average annual compliance costs for regulatory compliance, including the fees and the fines and everything else, for the average California small business was about $134,000 per year, or even more than their taxes. So when you think about that burden on small business, and then you can get a pretty decent idea as to why it's so difficult for people to lift themselves up and to improve their conditions in the Golden State, unless of course you're already a Silicon Valley tycoon or a Hollywood mogul, right? In which case everything's cool because you have plenty of money and you can hire tax attorneys and lobbyists and other people to help you navigate big government. It's not a problem if you're one of them. So some of the other things that California regulators do is they increase the cost of energy in the Golden State. California has traditionally had the highest gas prices, perhaps outside of Hawaii, where everything has to be brought in by ship, and that continues. But electrical costs are very high in the Golden State as well. Now, advocates for California like to point out that California has kept its per capita electrical usage very low as far as the increases, and they like to say that it's all due to their conservation efforts. That's hogwash. There's a couple of things they don't admit to. Number one, California has a very mild climate because of the cold Pacific current, and so for the people who live along the coast, you rarely have to use your air conditioner or your heater. That's number one. Number two, California does a lot of heating with natural gas. That doesn't show up in the electrical consumption statistics. Number three, California's policies, both from the environmental side and from the energy regulatory side, have caused a massive deindustrialization of the state. And so if you're not making stuff anymore, then your per capita electrical use has gone down because you don't have electrically intensive industry in the state anymore. They don't talk about that because it's kind of embarrassing. It doesn't fit their narrative. But it isn't any wonder why, if you look at the electrical costs for industrial customers between the two states, the cost of electricity for a high electrical usage customer is 88% higher in California than it is in Texas. And if you look across the board, residential, commercial, and industrial customers, if California ratepayers paid the same as what Texans pay for electricity, they would save $10 billion a year, or $265 per capita for every man, woman, and child in the state, just on electricity. And again, that's all due to regulation.
Disparity.